This would be a fairly typical west coast of the South Island beach scene, wouldn't it? Miles of desolate coastline, driftwood piled high. Behind me, Hokitika, a town with a street along the foreshore where all the houses are built with their backs to the sea. Some of our early explorers didn't give this place much of a chance. Cook himself said that he thought it was unlikely civilization would take root here, but he was wrong. In the 1860s came a gold rush. Well, the good times are coming around again.
It's got a real air of confidence in the last 5 or 6 years. It's taken off. It really has. We've got the town on a roll and the district on a roll.
Happy days are here again.
I'll let you into a little secret. We're the third lowest place in New Zealand for a district of unemployment. There's only the Chatham Islands and Selwyn district that's lower than us. That's at the last census, so it's always been portrayed that the West Coast has high unemployment, but in Western District, we're pretty well off. When we amalgamated the borough and the county, we made a conscious effort, our council, to reduce debt, and in about 2 years we'll have no debt at all, hopefully.
Hokitika's general air of prosperity and optimism extends to the performing arts. It's a town rich in musical and dramatic traditions. At the Regent Theatre, they're rehearsing A Hint of Magic, a combined local schools production.
Oh, Bobber having no magic. I think you look lovely.
Excuse me a moment. I take it that you're obviously the serious organisers of this endeavour.
We most definitely are.
Are you teachers or are you just involved
Just
parents?
parents, yeah.
That's
They
right.
get dragged into it. Yeah, it's
There
great.
seems to be a very strong theatrical and musical tradition in the town.
Yeah, there is. We've had really strong drama and music, especially at Hokitika Primary School in the last few years, and this has just brought out so much in the children. I mean, the children have just gone sky high with it, and the enthusiasm. I mean, the kids are breaking down the doors to get in to audition for the shows, you know.
Why do you think the tradition's so strong here?
Well, I think the West Coast are, you know, a bit Irish. They've got a good Irish tradition here. They're like being noticed and, you know, like standing up and being counted.
It'll have to be a costume rehearsal tomorrow. So would you please make sure you are here on time? Charlotte?
Whose makeup are we going to be using?
Can you what?
No, whose makeup are we
Ours. We want to make you all up the same because otherwise it looks funny. Leela?
My mum says that I'm not allowed to use anybody else's lipstick.
All right, well, you bring your own lipstick, get your mother to check that the colour's right with me or Dina.
Now, this name of yours, Rennie, or is it Renee? What is it?
Maureen.
Close.
But since Rachel's had her baby, I'm Renee. I've gone up.
So you were Rennie, your nickname, and now you're Renee
Just-
because of Rachel Hunter's
I've
baby.
got an extra E on the end of it now. It used to be Rennie, and now I'm Renee.
People having you on a bit, are they?
Yeah.
How long have you been playing the piano?
From when I learned,
Hmm.
I was 10.
Was that right? Who taught you?
Sisters of Mercy. I didn't like the classical stuff and the
Right. You're a bit more into rock and roll, were you?
exams. Yeah, I must have been then. I never heard of it, of course. But I went through that lot, and then when I got the last exam, sister gave me Rosemary, the music. That started me off. I always wanted to play a bit of jazz, you know. So I took over my sister's dance band after she got married, and I called it Rennie Jacobs' dance band.
So where did you used to play?
From Reefton down to the Fox, everywhere. I mean, Reefton, Greymouth, Gladstone, Kamara, Hokitika, Wataroa, Harry, then down to the glaciers.
Are these in halls or in pubs?
Hall, no, dances. Went through the, all the, you know, Boston two-steps, gypsy taps, foxtrots, quick steps, and then, and they didn't dance till 9 o'clock. It was 2 o'clock in the morning we finished.
Why didn't they start dancing before 9?
Well, the blokes didn't come out of the pubs till 11. Different, very different. I wouldn't go through that again.
Was it pretty tough work, was it?
Well, I mean, the biggest part of my life I spent entertaining people. I never could have any... I loved to dance, but I never got an opportunity.
So did you ever marry yourself? And
No.
Never did.
Didn't have time.
Oh, dear.
I was friendly with a chap, and he was like me. He had a dance band too here. He was in the railway and he got transferred away. No good to me, that was it. But he was a pianist too, you know. He did the same thing as I did, actually.
Well, it'd be hopeless, wouldn't it? You wanted
Yeah,
around
it
your
was, it was. Well, you didn't have a hope, you didn't have a chance. Well, that's what I say anyway, you know.
I mean, are the old band members still around who used to work with you?
No, they're all dead but me. All the men.
So you're quite happy to stay here?
Oh, yes, now I'm 84.
What do you like about
Where
staying
would you
here?
go? Where would you go, Barry? At 84, what would you do?
In just 10 months from December 1864, the discovery of gold saw Hokitika grow from a bleak sandspit into a bustling city of 16,000 souls. A sudden upsurge, more dramatic, they say, than the San Francisco gold rush. Aside from a few imported casino girls, the population was entirely male, nearly all miners. For a while, Hokitika was one of the most important places in the country.
In the years 1866 and 67, the Hokitika port was first in New Zealand for the value of exports out of the port. We had over 1.2 million ounces of gold produced from 65 to 67. And in today's terms, Gary, that would be about $1 billion worth of gold in value.
This must have been a bustling port.
Indeed it was, yes. Right where we're standing now, we have photos in the museum of 50 overseas ships in port here at the one time.
What were some of the other major industries in the area at the time?
Sawmilling would have to be one of them. There were sawmills all round this area, producing native timber, the podocarps of kahikatea, white pine, rimu, red pine, and the like.
Now, why was it that this amazing boom stopped as quickly as it began? I mean, how does gold run out like that?
The fact was that the gold was easily won because it was close to the surface in the creeks and riverbeds, and then they got to tunnelling for it, looking for the reefs, and the easily won gold petered out after a matter of 10 or 15 years. But now we've got an upsurge again in gold mining, and there's quite a lot of gold being won in the close environs of Hokitika.
And it would need to be quite a lot of gold. Each of these trucks is worth close to $1 million. This is Birchfield's mine, 30 kilometres south of Hokitika, next to the little settlement of Ross. Evan, this is one big hole. Are you going to go much deeper than this?
Yeah, it's got to go down to 90 metres. That's the target depth.
So it's going to go down this depth down again?
Yeah.
I can see over there are traces of shafts and galleries.
Yeah, in 1872, the old miners worked this Jones Flat area. There was 120 20 shafts in this area.
And they'd go down a shaft and then they'd branch out along these galleries.
Yeah, on each level. Yeah, and there were 7 levels.
And how big were these tunnels that they had to crawl along?
About 1.5 metres high, that just high enough for a man to work in.
It sounds like a rather dangerous and arduous job.
Yeah, everyone that went down in the ground come back out. There's no one still there, so yeah.
Well, that must be a comfort to you when you're working, taking these places up. Well, when you've doubled the depth of this, then presumably you'll be moving out. In which direction will you keep extending your hole, as it were?
All directions. We're limited on the eastern side because of the town. But,
you're also limited on the eastern side by your house, and there's your charming wife standing in front of the house as we speak. Is she slightly worried about what you're going to do to it?
No, she's resigned herself to the fact that that's going to be knocked down.
The house goes and make way with the mine, does it?
Yeah.
And how about the town itself? Because I believe there's gold underneath the town of Ross itself.
Yeah, there's no plans at the moment to mine the town, but the Mines Department engineers estimate is there's $700 million worth of gold underneath the Ross township and valley.
Now, what is going to happen at the end of the day after you drilled through to the centre of the earth? Presumably you can't just leave this hole here. What happens?
Yeah, it has to be all levelled right back off and reclaimed, and possibly even leave a recreational lake here. There should be no problem making it better than it was, because it was untidy beforehand from the old miners.
So you'll be leaving it in a pristine condition?
Hopefully, yeah.
We were actually digging the septic tank for the new house, and the guy that was digging it was an old gold miner from way back, and he came rushing over to me telling me that the ground was full of gold, and I said to him, just get the septic tank in, we're going to be in a week, but he convinced us that it was worth looking at, and we did, and that's how it all started, really.
A lot of New Zealanders have this mental picture that somewhere on the west coast there are huge piles of tailings and spoils, and the countryside's been ripped up by mines and things like that. Is this true or not?
We mined very inferior type land, what we call Pākahī here on the coast, got an iron pen underneath it, and when we finished we had something a lot better than what was there before, a lot better.
Is this some of the land around us here that you
Yes,
mined?
this down here and both sides of the road actually. It's improved it to that point where we can milk cows on it. A lot of people didn't think we could, but we've proved them wrong, and you know, we think it's a real achievement. We've got some coarser gold there, Gary. That's some of the ones when we're streaming down, we pulled out some of the bigger bits.
Look at this, this is quite impressive. Be careful not to spill this.
Yeah.
I mean, what would this be worth now, what we've got here?
Oh, probably a couple of $1,000 or a bit more.
Has anyone got a shovel? I'll start work immediately. How many truckloads today?
That'd be 100.
100 truckloads.
Yeah.
It comes down to this.
Yeah.
And in this last wash, you hope to find some gold.
Yeah. Enough to pay the bills for the day.
Right. I can see it down there. Look, golden-looking stuff. Is that the real thing, or is that more mud or something?
No, that's it.
I notice you're fairly restrained about this. I mean, were this me, I'd probably be leaping up and down, shouting and singing party songs. I suppose you get used to it after a while, do you?
Yeah, and it all probably belongs to the bank anyway.
With close on 100 mining and dredging operations, gold is clearly still a major industry on the coast. As for how much is actually extracted and how much it's worth at the end of the day, well, no one's really saying, and I can't blame them for that. I always admire a town that has good nicknames, and in this town we have a jeweller called Howard TikTok Hughes, and we also have a barber called Ron Snippety Dip Bredetton. If I'm not mistaken, in this very building I have none other than the upholsterer, Stuffer Burns. Stuffer, would I be right? Is that your nickname?
That's me.
Nice to meet you. Gary McCormick. Lovely to meet
Gary,
you.
how are you?
What a fine old building you've got to work in here. What did this used to be?
Bank of New South Wales.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And so you just knocked out the wall because security's no longer really needed to that extent?
I've still got a safe. I've still a big, strong room back there.
How long have you been working here doing your upholstering?
Oh, about 35 years.
Now tell me about the upholstery business in Hokitika. What's the calling for in this area?
Well, you name it, and I do it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You do lounge suites, you do car
lounge
seats?
suites, I use cars, prams, horse covers. Sometimes they're a bit messy.
So you have to be flexible in your work.
You
That's the important
certainly do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's you people in this down this way have a reputation for flexibility and adaptability.
Yeah.
Would that be fair?
That's dead right.
There seems to be plenty to do for people of all
There
ages.
is. I'm in the Savage Club.
Right.
There.
Well, what is it, a social club,
That's a
sporting
social
club?
club for men.
Right.
There.
And when's your next meeting?
We've got a ladies' night on tonight, up at Seaview Hall.
Do you think I could pop around to have a look?
Of course you can. Every year you're welcome.
Hearken to the words of the Council of Chiefs. Let no spark of religious discussion light the fires of controversy in our midst. Permit no reference to the politics of this land to disturb the peace. See to it that you foster the good work of the storyteller, singer, and the scribe. Let no savage forget the rules of this tribe, nor tarnish its time-honoured dignity. Savages, salute your great chief. Aki, Kia, Ka, Kuruku, Kuruku.
Well, the Savage Club was started in England in 1857. There's a crowd of out-of-work musicians and poets and all the rest. And they decided that they'd better form a club. That was 1857 in Drury Lane. And they formed this club and they decided, well, what are we going to call it? And all the names were tossed around. In the end, they come up with the name of a chap, Richard Savage. He was a bit of an ne'er-do-well and was prisoner and no good at all. So they said, well, that's sort of our type of thing. Bit of a renegade, so they called it the Savage Club. And they used the folklore of the Indians, the wild Indians of America. So it was started later on, about another 20 years later in Australia, and they used the folklore of the Aborigines, and then it came out to New Zealand, and they used the Maori folklore out here.
This afternoon we had swimming. You had swimming? Yep. And I won every event.
You won every event?
Is that because I'm a Kiwi?
No, it's not because you're a Kiwi. It's because you're the best swimmer in the school. You're great, you are.
Hey, Daddy, you know, after the swimming, we all had a shower.
Yeah.
Yep. I had a look at all the other boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And their diddles were only that big. That big, yeah. Mine was that big.
Is that right?
Was that because I was a Kiwi?
No, that's because you're 21 and they're only 12. just for the company, dear.
Well, no, I'm a lesbian.
You're a what?
I'm a lesbian. See that nice looking bird over there? I'd like to offer her a drink, shout for her, give her a wee cuddle, pat her bottom, and I'd like to invite her home to my place for a few drinks, and then after a few drinks, I would invite her into my...
What's wrong with you? I think I'm a lesbian too.
What do you mean?
I'd like to do the same thing.
Смотрися, сударь. Контровку дай мне.
An unusual sight, one would have thought, at the crack of dawn on Hokitika Airport, the country's largest helicopter. In fact, it's a Russian helicopter, a Mil-8 MTV, staffed largely by Russians. This has enabled the Timberlands Company to carry out selective, sustainable logging. Andy, that would be the V8 of the helicopter world, am I right?
Oh, yes. Very good.
It's monstrous.
Oh, it's huge, all right. You don't appreciate its size until you see it close up.
Whereabouts are they going?
Just north of to a place called Emoto Forest, and they'll work there for the day. They'll lift hopefully 500 tonne or more.
How many logs approximately will that be they'll lift out?
They're doing 4 tonne lifts, so roughly 100 lifts plus.
feel bound to say that I'm not altogether sure that a hard hat would make a lot of difference if one of those trees came down on your head.
Could cause you a bit of a headache.
This is more of a morale booster, is it, wearing the helmet?
Yes, exactly.
Now, is this what is referred to as selective, sustainable logging?
This isn't sustainable logging. This is what's part of a transition period which was signed under the West Coast Forest Accord to enable the timber industry to remain until the exotic resource became mature enough for the timber industry to be able to rely upon that. It's still relatively selective, it's the older trees, but it's still unsustainable.
And when does this current regime come to an end?
December 1994, end of this year.
And after that, what?
And after that, the only renew basically that'll be harvested will be sustainable renew. With the renew going into sustainable management, it's allowed for the exotic resource to come on stream, so the volume that was being taken out of renew is being replaced by exotics, by basically radiata.
So are you much loved by environmentalists and greenies now?
I'd like to think so.
So this, Ian, is the way of the future, is it?
Well, this is one part of sustainable management, Gary, yes.
So how do you start this process? I mean, presumably you've got to find a tree in this bush somewhere that's suitable to take down.
Yes, that's the first part. We first of all look at the aerial photographs and look for an area of forest which is in the beginning to deteriorate. Then we actually have to walk through that forest and we look for trees which are at the end of their life cycle.
And how do you tell if a tree is at the end of its life cycle, may I ask?
Firstly, the foliage on the trees begins to die off like an autumn in a deciduous tree. And at the base of the tree, Gary, you get roots like this here. This tree used to be round like this. All this inside here is rotted out. The only part left growing is around here.
Right. Then you mark that on the map and presumably you send the lads in a bit later to get started, do you?
Yes, and then after that, the area is replanted and tidied up, and then they move on to the next tree. For every big tree we fell, we usually plant between 3 and 5 removed seedlings afterwards. This tree is about 5 years old and it will be harvested in 500 years' time.
Presumably you won't be doing the job necessarily.
No, no.
So it's a nice style and quite a radical departure, is it not, from the old style of exploitative logging?
Yes, it is. It's how forestry should have been all the time, Gary, really.
What's been the reaction of all the old-timers to this sort of newfangled approach to logging?
Initially there's some scepticism, but I think it's growing now, and they realise by doing this method and by doing it sustainably, there is jobs there for themselves and for their children permanently, where everybody knows that under the Accord things had to come to a halt.
The first mill was built here in 1903. A very primitive old water wheel driven mill on the other side of the road. And there's been about 5 mills here since then, like the old axe head, 5 handles and 4 heads, but she's still going.
Right, well, the times, I gather, are a-changing, though, is that right?
Quite dramatically for us. After 91 years of cutting native, we are finally putting the old remu trees to rest and starting to come into cutting some radiata, and that really is going to be the wood for our future here.
So will you be going completely over to radiata at the end of the year?
No, we hope to be cutting about 80% radiata and a limited amount of remu that will be coming from the new sustained yield remu forest. They take the whole of the log in here and process it right down to mouldings and panellings, so it's got a very much focus on value-adding the products here.
This is quite different from the perception that many people have of the coast, that you somehow sort of tear trees out and export them.
Yes, public perception of the coast is always quite a debatable issue. The West Coasters tend to have a slightly different view to the rest of New Zealand, and I guess the rest of New Zealand has a slightly different view towards the West Coast, but we do it this way, and we believe that we keep doing it this way, we'll have a good future.
How long have you been in the band?
I'm one of the new boys.
You are?
I've only been in about 14 years.
So you're still making the tea and bringing in the beers, are you?
That's right.
And how about you?
I joined about 1956.
Is that right? So how often do you all get together for a session like this?
When we're in demand, when we're asked.
Well, I understand you're in quite considerable demand.
Well, yes. We used to have a practice a few times, but normally now we get enough engaged as to, like, we stick to our old tunes that we've all played through our lives.
Right.
And the point I'd like to make out, we're ear players. We don't read music, as you've probably already realised. So everybody's got it in their mind.
And so you travel up and down the west coast?
Well, yes.
And beyond.
And beyond. So how far?
We've been to Australia. We've been to the Waitangi celebrations. Been to Auckland, North Auckland. You name it.
Now, you're something of a New Zealand institution, certainly a West Coast institution.
The majority are from around Hokitika, where it was formed in 1910.
So you've all known one another for quite a few years.
Oh.
You're all old mates.
That's right.
We've got 5 guys here over 80. The oldest is 88.
Do you find that people get up and dance a bit as the night goes on?
Yes. And kids. That's what delights us. Little kids, you know, getting into it and getting into the rhythm of it. It's great.
Now, tell me about the outfits you're wearing here.
Well, it was derived mostly from the miners' normal wear in those days, like moleskin trousers, which are back in vogue again now, but they were the workers' trousers in those days. They were a dirty whitey grey, so they went one better and made a white one. The boyangs, there to keep the trousers up out of the mud and also to keep the knees slack when the old miners were shoveling. And the bright shirt was usually an outgoing thing of the early miners, either checks or pat, so they decided on a red shirt. They added the neck cheek and the bandolier around the side.
Right.
And that makes it.
Well, I must say it all looks rather wonderful.
That's the original uniform.
Right.
It's never been changed.
Well, you've got a big night ahead, obviously. You'll be playing for the next how many hours?
Oh, well, while we're wanted.
We're heading up the Arahura, 6 kilometres north of Hokitika, for one of the last of the old greenstone claims. Shortly, the future of greenstone ownership will be finally decided under the Treaty of Waitangi. Meanwhile, there's still plenty of it, but it's hard to come by. Thank goodness for technology. I wouldn't want to hoof it out of here with a pack full of rocks on my back. Well, it seems almost too good to disturb these pristine conditions with our presence, really. Now, what exactly are we looking for, Ross?
We're looking for nephrite jade.
And how's this stuff come about?
It was formed under extreme heat and pressure, many thousands of feet below the ground, and forced to the surface many years ago, thousands of years ago. There's no mining of jade done at all. It's all just found after natural erosion.
How will we know when we find the real thing? I mean, does it stand out in the water?
They say it finds you.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh. This is a tricky business, really. All this moving water, trying to keep you...
You've got to be careful.
Has been known to trip some people up.
Yeah. This looks like something up here.
Oh, that's leverite.
Leverite?
Yeah, leverite where you found it.
Serpentine.
Over the years, we've learned not to carry those things out.
No, right. Are we looking for an ideal size here, or what?
Oh, no. You just take what you can get.
Okay.
What about this here?
Could be one.
Is this it?
Here we are. Look at that.
Good heavens.
That'll be heavy too, I'd say.
Ah! Aha! Aha!
Now
Shall we name this creek after me, seeing as I helped you find this? So here it is, my baby, and you're about to cut this into various important pieces, I take it.
Well, we surely are, just to find out what's in it. You can never tell what's inside a stone until it's being cut, so...
Do you mean I may have carried that down up that mountain for you to tell me now that there may be nothing in it that's no good?
Well, worse things happened at war.
Well, not in my opinion, they haven't. No, well, so why have you put it there then?
Well, it's got a tighter end around this end here. This end's very long and needly, so hopefully there'll be something on this end we'll be able to do something with.
OK, over to you. Take great care. This is obviously a very successful operation.
Yes, well, started 6 years ago and we've outgrown these premises now and building up a new lot down the road closer to town.
Now, has this been a recent development?
Oh, jade carving's been going on for years. Like, for years I've just done shrinkety stuff, you know, for 25, 30 years. But we're sort of the first ones to get into doing some big carvings around here.
Now, what about tourism in Hokitika? Are you noticing big increases?
Big increases every year.
Do you think the town can cope with this?
Oh, yeah, we'll take them all. not a
yeah, but the
problem,
infrastructure, do you have the necessary accommodation and the transport and
not
the
at
business?
present, but that's happening too, you know. There's talks of big motels and hotels coming in here, and at the moment they're starting in Greymouth, so it's a stopping point on the way through, but in time, another couple of years, there'll be a big hotel here.
So you're on the crest of a wave?
We hope so. Yeah.
This is the business end here. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that, magnificent. This will be the New Zealand equivalent of the crown jewels in here. See this? What do you reckon?
Well, as you can see, there's a lot of fractures in here, so we can't really do a lot with it. There's a little pocket there we could possibly work, but it's probably more valuable to someone as a specimen piece, as a mountain. But that's the luck of the draw.
What do you mean? As a doorstop? You're telling me that that bit of jade that I carried all the way down on my back?
A very beautiful doorstop.
Keep your sunny side up, hide the sun against blue. If you've got 10 suns in a row, baseball teams make money, you know. Keep your sunny side up, hide the sun against blue. Feel like two running stand up on your lip. Keep your sunny side, keep your sunny side, keep your sunny side up.
I have to say that whenever I'm in a small New Zealand town and I see a company called Pierre's Gourmet Catering or something of the kind, I tend to be slightly suspicious. There surely can't be too many Pierre's at Hokitika.
Bonsoir, monsieur.
It's a real French accent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's right, yes. Direct from Paris.
Is that right? So you're actually French?
Yes, from Paris. I've been here for about 10 years now.
From Paris to Hokitika, that's a big step to take, isn't it?
I went to Australia first.
Right.
For about 15 years, and I met my wife there, and she's from Hokitika, so we decided to come back and open a restaurant here.
It must be a source of joy to overseas travellers to come here and find a French restaurant like this.
Yes, they're very impressed and very surprised to find a small French restaurant in a town like this. But yeah, in fact, there was a Café de Paris in 1869 in Revolt Street, next street down by the sea. And we were looking for a name for the cafe, and I had a picture of the Café de Paris. And I said, why not? I come from Paris, and there we are.
And how have you found it as a chef in a town the size of Hokitika?
Well, at first, 10 years ago, we started 10 years ago, and it was a bit of a challenge, but it proved to be really good. You know, people appreciate good food, and we adapt ourselves to the people's taste, and we're still going. So
a lot of my fellow New Zealanders tend to be sort of steak and 3 veg people. Did you have much trouble educating them?
Yeah, 10 years ago, like you said, you know, steak and chips and a glass of beer. But through the time, you know, we introduced them to quail, pheasant, even venison was in those days was not known very well. So we introduced different sort of food here.
Okay, ready to go on stage in 4 minutes. A few minutes
I think you get that fringe off because it's like cutting your face in half.
Keep your makeup, make sure your makeup all looks good, that your costumes are all fine.
I don't know where that beef down there. We wouldn't have a show, that's certain. But do I get any thanks for it? Of course not. I'm just a dog's body. I'll be around the place though, in case of emergencies. And there nearly always is emergencies. I could tell you stories. But I won't, because it's curtain up. And guess whose job that is? See ya. That is to and thus to the land called Earth Beyond. We have all waited long enough for you, tardy. There is no more time. Your Majesty, if it is your wish that I should be banished to Earth, then I must. To keep the skies so blue, there must be someone who will fall. It's beautiful. It's the start of my Earth Day. I mean, our Earth Day. I'm sorry for being rude about your clothes, Pipsqueak. My name's Pip, not Pipsqueak. That's a silly name. Okay, glad to know you, Pip. Just don't call me Tara, okay? Some rotten old fruit. You got a bargain there. Unless that's stolen, of course. Likely as not, the police will be around asking questions. Then we'll all have to look after our own backsides.
It must be past sunset now. Is it too late to go back?
I think it must be, but I don't care anymore. We have all learned much from your day on Earth. You may return to Fairyland, even though you are, yet again, late for an appointment. May I take this occasion to say that the whole human race should go down on its knees, show that we're thankful for every service for the endless so wonderfully wrought. On a wonderful night, on a wonderful night, on a night like tonight, on a night like tonight, on a wonderful
That'll do you. Silly bloody woman sitting there with all the cards.
Well, next time you're here, Tom, we'll see that you play with gentlemen all day.
Well, here at the Red Lion in Hokitika on a wintry Saturday afternoon, there is a grand tournament of a game called 45s being played. Now, I don't understand this game, but apparently you're not a coaster at all unless you learn how to play it. So here we go. I've got two champions with me here. I've got Jim across the table and Bill to my left. Bill.
Five, whatever comes up, is always the best trump. And you can renege out of any suit.
We can renege on that if necessary.
But if you had another club in your hand, you'd either have to play the small one or the fingers.
Bill, I think you're telling me the difficult rules first. This is starting to sound rather complicated, but I think they're having me on. I'm not going to pay any attention. Do you want to deal while you explain this to me? Where did this game come from, Jim?
What I can gather, it seems that it was brought out here with the early miners that came, and Ireland seems to be one of the favourite spots that it seems to originate from. But in the early history here with gold mining and coal mining and timber mills, it was all played there all the time for smoko time or on the way out to the mines and the trains.
Right. So at what point do I pick the cards up?
Once it's been dealt.
All right, so I'm allowed to...
When it comes round to you.
Oh, when it comes round?
Pick your cards up any time.
All right, okay. I've got the cards up. So, it's not looking too good at the moment.
The other person has a look at their cards.
Right, you have a look for them. We'll pretend that other person is there. Why couldn't I have had his hand?
Yes, well, they've got a reasonable hand there in a way. They've got three trumps.
Exactly.
So if they wanted to, they're not a weak hand. They could attack by leading one if they wished.
Is it? Oh, that's good.
Now,
right.
The lowest wins that trick.
And
as I said, it's an Irish game.
So you take two one game and a one trick round.
34.
You bloody silly girl.
4 tricks is 20 plus a bonus 5 is 25 points. On the board in gradients of 5, they go 25, and
opposition, which is us, got one trick.
Yeah.
So we got 5 points. The first one to get 4 legs actually wins the game. So we're still in it.
Thank goodness for that. I don't understand this. A guy who isn't even here just won all of that. Bill was coasting along on his shirt tails here, but the chap who wasn't even in the room won that game. This is ridiculous.
Paddleboat used to carry 15 tons of timber out of the area down to the Hokitika wharves, and there it would be put on ships, and from there find its way up the coast to Westport, up around to Nelson, down the east coast down to Christchurch, and then up into central Otago.
Dear me, it's been an exhausting 10 days. I've been up mountains, I've been down great big holes in the ground, I've been out doing bushwalks, I've done a lot. I've even learned to play a game of cards that would have taxed the intellect of an Einstein. And now I've got to go back, is that the time? I've got to go back and see the marching grannies. Excuse me, can we turn back? Brings us up here to the top of the mountain like this. Well, it feels like the top of the mountain, it's only 3 feet above sea level, but in the freezing cold to practice like this is most impressive.
Good exercise, good invigorating exercise.
And is this a big thing on the coast, this marching business?
Well, we're the only team in Hokitika. There is a younger one in Westport, a younger team. But we were the first to start in the South Island, yes.
And you've travelled far afield from all accounts?
Yes, we do. We've not long been to Lower Hutt.
Is that right?
Yes.
How was that? How did they treat you there?
Oh, excellent. It was wonderful. There were 600 ladies there and 44 teams, so we're the fastest growing sport in New Zealand.
Is that right? And how did you get on in Lower Hutt?
Well, it's not competitive.
Oh, I see.
It's a leisure get-together, and we strut our stuff. Each team does their own thing.
But how many hours do you spend in the freezing cold like this, marching around in circles?
Not many waiting for you.
All right. So I was a bit late. I apologise now profusely and salute everybody. Thank you very much. But aside from that, you must get together once a week, do you?
Yes, we practice once a week. All the older people are getting into the exercise thing now. It keeps them out of the doctor's surgery, doesn't it? Never too old.
Right. I'm surprised any of you got time to be at home at all.
Oh, we're not.
You know, if we didn't have a West Coast, it would be necessary to invent one. Now, this town started off with a hiss and a roar in the gold rush of the 1860s. There are over 100 pubs in 500 metres of Revel Street, and they're still going strong. How you doing?
This programme was made with the help of your broadcasting fee, so you can see more of New Zealand on air.